What's up, guys? I'm Scott. We're off grid. Today we're going to take a look at the solar panel since it's all finished up. Let's go over the wiring and see how that all worked out. Okay, so here we are on the back side of the panels. Let's go over the wiring and we'll start off here. Let's start down at the batteries. I have the Weiss batteries, W-E-I-Z-E. They are 12 volt 100 amp hour batteries. Now, as you see, the batteries, I've taken and wired them all, paralleled them two at a time to make all these 12 volts into 24 volts. Now, I could have gone with a 36 volt system, but the inverters for them are a little bit rare. You're either better off to go with a 12, 24, or 48. The 36s are rare and they're more expensive. So I wired all these together, which makes them into 24 volt cells. Now you come along and serial wire them, which, oh come on, focus in. There we go. Which means you connect the blacks to the blacks and the reds to the reds all the way down. That way all these become one unit at 24 volts. Also notice when I say parallel, it goes a red to the black, positive to negative. So when you're wiring up and you want to design your system, you can do this with the 48 volts. You can do this with, you can take these 12 volt batteries and you can wire them up to 48 volts, 36 volts, 24 volts. But 48 volt is usually where you want to end up if you want to get the maximum output out of your batteries. Now, as you can see, we've got the PV combiner boxes here. These are eco-worthies. I got them for about 150 bucks a piece off eBay. They come pre-wired. You've got your 20 amp breakers down here and you've got a 60 amp breaker over here. Now, you will want to ground these. You see I've got a ground coming in from all my solar panels, which are all connected. Let's get over here where you can see the wires. As you can see, they're all connected, metal frames to metal frames, and then it comes down into the box up here, and this is your trip wire. In case anything goes wrong, it'll send the electricity out to neutral, trip all the breakers. And then you have your ground going down to here, which I just for now took a hose clamp and connected it to a piece of rebar that's driven about 1.5 feet in the ground. And what this does is help make your solar array, wow, look at my fingers, they're dirty. But what this does is help make your solar array invisible to the lightning. Now, I was talking to my buddy about this the other day, and he said, oh, lightning's not going to hit it. And I said, well, when you're on the top of the mountain and this is the tallest thing out here, your chances go way up. So let's just make it invisible to the lightning, because it allows current to flow from the ground up to the metal panels and creates an electron flow to where it becomes the same current or the same charge as the ground, which is why it's called ground. So anyways, there we are. Now for wiring coming out of the PV box, you can see here where I shoved the wires up through the hole and had stripped the ends and put them into the screw holes here and tighten that down. So you come down here. Now this is oh, what size? What gauge? This is a 6 gauge, which works great for these PV combiner boxes on the input-output, and it allows plenty of current to flow. The one problem I had with that was when you get over here to the charge controller, of course, the maximum size wire you can put in there is a lot smaller than a 6. So what I did is under the tape here, it's soldered together with two 10 gauge wires, which actually do fit into the Make Sky Blue solar charge controller that I've got, which I actually have 2 of them. So once you run your negative and your positive term wires over here. I took and split those into smaller wires since it gives 2 ports per charge, negative or positive, and ran those straight into there. And then we have 2 ports coming out for the negative and 2 ports coming out for the positive for the battery terminals. Now those also ran 10 gauge wire, which can handle 55 amp. And since I've got it spread between 2 wires, that means it would possibly handle 110 amps. The maximum output for this is 60 amps, so I'm safe, no problems. The wire goes down here, as you can see, drops out of the charge controller, and you take the positive and connect it to the positive side of your 24-volt system. You take the negative and you connect it to the negative side of your 24-volt system, and you do this all the way down. Yeah, since I've got 2 wires coming out, I put one on this battery, one on this battery, one on this battery, one on this battery, and the same for the other charge controller going backwards. Now, when your pigtails aren't long enough, let's go back to that. When your pigtails aren't long enough, you can always get you can always add more wire to it. Let me show you how that's done. Okay, so to extend your pigtails, since I got into this project and didn't record too much of it, I just figured I'd go over it at the end. It's really simple. It looks really complicated back there because there's wires shooting everywhere, which I'll do a video on wire management here very shortly, because I want to get all this tucked away and put up before weather comes and gets everything wet, which is also why you have loose wire hanging down. So if water does find it, it'll go down to the lowest point and drip. It won't run into your electronics. But to extend these pigtails, you'll have 2 connectors, one of them being male and one of them being female. This will be your male connector, obviously, and this will be your female connector, obviously, for apparent reasons. So, when you get these connectors, they will have a bunch of these little metal things. And this goes inside the male, and this goes inside, this goes inside the male, and this goes inside the female. You see that rounded over tip right there? Yeah, that's because it goes inside that way and locks together. I'm not going to push it together because it'll get stuck. So, now all you have to do is you take and these things are really long, so you can take a little over 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch off your wire. Just take and strip it off. Just like that. Now, take and put this in like this. You see, it just goes straight up to the sleeve right there. Now you can take and clamp this on with some pliers or whatnot. Make sure you get a good clamp on it. And we got the male one here. So, take this apart. You just take that lug off, and there's going to be a little cap in here that comes off too. You can see how that comes apart right there. Don't worry, we'll put that back on in a second. I'll show you how it goes. Now, this, you're going to take and shove it in here in the male end until it locks all the way in, and you'll feel it really seat in there good. Now you see how my wire is always pressed in there? Now, fortunately the other end is loose, but one of the things you want to do before you put that on is go ahead and slide these on your wire, and make sure that they are facing this way. This rubber end will go in first, and then you'll see where this little ribbed edge Let's see if I can get it in there. There's a little ribbed edge right here, rippled edge, whatever you want to say, right here. And it is going to, oh, go down, man. There it goes. And it's going to slide right up in there. And you can give it a little twist and it'll lock it right up in there, so it'll seal up against it. Now you take the screw cap and you just put it on there. And just lock it down until it's seated. You don't have to go like mega force on this, and nothing's going to be messing with it. It's not going to be vibrating, moving, or anything. It won't come off. Now, saying you did the other side with the female connector, you would have a wire that had the male and female end on it, whatever length you need it to be. So you take and jab this into your pigtail, you run this to your PV combiner box and plug it in, and that's how you get it to where you want it to go. Now, some of you might be like, hey, that's obvious, but some people may have anxiety about doing this stuff because they've never seen it before and they've never done it. So when you break it down like that, hopefully they can catch on to it. Maybe it'll be a good option for saving power for them. Another thing I used was, well, I don't have any of the, yeah, I still got a few. There we go. Some of these yellow connectors here, right here, they have a 1/4 inch hole in the end to connect them to the batteries. And on the size 2 wire that I used to connect all the batteries together, so there's not any resistance with the current, I use these 1/4 inch lugs I got here, and these are solid copper. If you're going to get copper, don't get copper plated, get your solid copper. Make sure it's quality. Okay, so to recap, there's a bunch of wires. It looks messy, but it's really simple. These are all just wires that go to each individual solar panel. And then they run straight into here to the PV combiner box. You got negative and positive for each one. And then you, of course, inside the PV box, it all gets combined through these breakers up to the bus bars. And then it comes out through here and goes down into your solar charge controller. Now this controls your flow of electricity to the battery so it doesn't overcharge them. So you go from the charge controller to your batteries, which are all paralleled together back there in the back, from negative to positive, and then they're all serialed here in the front, positive to positive and negative to negative. Now over here, I have this, I guess I'm going to pronounce it probably wrong, I'm going to murder it, Zuhan 10,000 watt inverter. It does pretty good on certain things, such as I've got a little mini oven that pulls about 1800 watts. It'll run it. I've got a electric skillet that runs 1600 watts, I think, and it runs it. I've got a blender, coffee maker. It runs all this stuff with no problem. Not at the same time though. I can't run, at least not out of the same outlet. I haven't tried it on the different outlets. I guess I'll get to that eventually. But I can't run the oven and the frying pan at the same time. But it'll power each one of them individually, no problem. And it is still running the freezer 24/7. And because before this, get sucked down on there, you had to go and get food on the regular and ice to keep it cold, or gas to run a generator to keep the freezer cold. Now I don't have to do any of that. So now that I've got the freezer up here, it gives me a lot more free time. I don't have to run to town, get ice, gas, and all that stuff to run generators. Yeah, it's a game changer to actually have power up here. And the cool thing is I don't have a power bill to go along with it. So the overall performance of the system is I've got 2,650 watts available to me when the sun's up, and that is directly excuse me, that is directly fed into whatever I'm drawing on. Now if it goes beyond that, the power that I'm drawing, I'm going to start sucking it out of the batteries. No big deal. I've got 7,200 watts worth of power sitting down there in the batteries just stored. Now the freezer, all I've seen it take off is like that first little notch on the bars where this thing measures where the solar charge controller measures your battery power. And it doesn't even take off a full notch, I don't think. Because when the sun comes up, within an hour of it breaking the tree line, everything's charged up and this thing has gone back down to, 300 watts of running the freezer and, a couple watts of running the fan on this thing and the charge controllers or whatever. So talking about like 302 watts of usage on the regular. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed figuring all this out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'm fixing to make a video and go over a price breakdown for everything so you can find out if maybe this is right for you. Anyways, we'll see you in the next video. I hope y'all have an awesome day.